This video is sponsored by Wildlife Command Center Coffee. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am back with another One Filmmaker, One Film, and today my guest is...
I am Troy Escamilla. Thank you for having me on, John.
Oh, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. So,
not a problem, not a problem.
And tell me a little bit about Troy. Who are you? Where do you come from? What are you all about?
Well, I am a indie filmmaker. I have completed 3 feature films: Party Night, Mrs. Claus, and my last film was Teacher Shortage. It was based out of Houston, Texas. All of the films were filmed in the Houston area. However, I recently moved to the Midwest for an opportunity, so I'm back there for now. And yeah, that's I huge horror fan my entire life. I am my real job is education. I've been in public education now for 16 years. Love to write. That's kind of my background, really, is writing, screenwriting. I've written all 3 of my films. Yeah, I mean, that's the gist of it. That's the gist of it.
Awesome. And so this is our first time meeting. You know, we've talked a few times on Facebook and stuff like that and all that, but this is our first actual time meeting. So I go back a ways with your films because I was one of the original contributors to Party Night. And so I got that here. And this is the Blu-ray for it here.
Yes.
And it even has you even signed it on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And the inside. So we got a little huge Party Night logo there on the DVD. And it came with this postcard that I keep in the, and you wrote, thanks for the support.
Yes.
So we got that. And I didn't bring it with me, but I do have a large, it's like a 12 by 16 or something poster that has everybody's autographs on it. And I don't like bringing, I'm at work. So I didn't want to bring that with me. I normally just keep this right inside here to keep it safe. And so since I'm at work and they're allowing me to use their computer and everything, and I did bring a backup shirt. So as you can see, I work here at Shield Storage, and I am drinking from their tumbler here. I'll promote them and say, if you need a storage unit, go to Shield Storage and rent a storage unit there and give them some money. And if they do, then maybe they'll let me use their computers even more. So the other one that I have, and this is another perk I also gave to Stirring.
Yes.
So these are the 2 I think I have posters for. I know I have a poster for this one. I might have one for this too.
Probably. Yeah.
So, and this is, and there's its back there. I'm not sure if I should. Yeah, I did show the back because your autograph is on that one. And and this one, it came with a little card also. And you thanked me again. Try to get that in the light there. Thanks for the support. And it has a very simple stern just right there. And then that got turned into Mrs. Claus.
Mrs. Claus, yes. The distributor totally changed the title, changed the artwork, glossed it up quite a bit. Yeah, Wild Eye Releasing.
They're famous for that, notorious.
Yeah, well, they did a pretty. I mean, when I first saw the cover and then the new title, I wasn't really thrilled, but it's kind of grown on me. So, yeah, they did cut out. You know, the original Stirring DVD that you have, is uncut. Wild Eye did go in and cut several seconds out of the opening scene of the film. It's pretty noticeable, actually. So, yeah.
They can?
They did. They did. They told me they were going to because of the content of it. They said the way it was shot and how explicit it was that they would have an issue with getting it on Amazon. So they had to cut out. It's about 5 seconds of the opening scene. So, and I actually only watched the Mrs. Claus version for the first time about 6 months ago. With a friend. It was just I was at his place and it was just on Amazon Prime, and I was like, hey, let's watch. I hadn't seen it, so I really wasn't sure what they cut out, but it does sort of make a difference. It's really in the Mrs. Claus version, it's a little bit harder to tell actually what happens during that opening hazing scene, but yeah.
I mean, that's weird with the type of movies that they release and how they have that that raw, that wild eye raw and extreme or whatever it's called, that they would even care about that.
Yeah,
so,
they did.
I mean, I definitely like this better. I like the title Stirring, and I like that poster with the heads and stuff down here. I think, I mean, this is fine. I mean, it fits in with kind of all the Krampus stuff and all that.
It makes it look like a zombie film. Sort of, the Mrs. Claus on the front.
I can see that.
Yeah. So,
well, especially, yeah. So that's, and then I got it. So it looks like I got your signature on it, and who's the other person?
I can't see. It looks like I signed it twice for some reason.
So you signed it there and there.
Yeah.
It's worth twice as much.
It's worth twice as. It must have been during one of those moments when I was signing dozens of them at a time, and I was just like, But yeah, you got it signed twice. There you go.
Wow. So now that's worth a lot more money. I like that. And then we got, of course, Teacher Shortage, which is your newest film.
Yes.
And that's also signed right down there.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that there. There's our back. And here's our inside.
Again, very, very simple. Very simple little,
Do you prefer simple, or do you want?
I prefer simple. Yeah.
So no like bloody axe or anything like that on there. Just the title.
Just the title.
Sometimes simple is better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one, I mean, we have something in common with Party Night. We both worked with Tommy Vegas.
Yep.
So she was in your Party Night and in my Axmas too.
Yes. Which I've seen all the Axmases. So.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun. Drew. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's coming back for part 3. So looking forward to that. So he's going to look like Two-Face. He's going to be half part.
Oh, cool. So, yeah. Tommy's great. Tommy was great to work with. So that was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
Excuse me. Yeah. Well, I watched this and I liked her. And then I saw Another Evil Night.
Yeah, she's
and liked her. And didn't know that she lived in Vegas until I was shooting a film out here and called Scare Me that she's in. Okay. And she put 100% into that role. And I'm like, she's perfect. I want her in Axmas too. And she said yes. So I was very, very fortunate that she said yes. So so she's really good to work with. And also for Stirring or Mrs. Claus, whichever one we go with, I guess it would be Mrs. Claus these days. Yeah. You've got Brink Stevens in here, who I worked with also. Yeah. So she was in Meat Hook 4.
Okay. And she was. You're right. Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's great to work with. I had a really fun time with her.
Oh, awesome. She's amazing. She's such a sweetheart, such a trooper. Yeah, I worked with her on Mrs. Claus and on Teacher Shortage. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes. She is. Yeah. I think that's her right there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Both films. So twice. Okay, cool.
Twice. Yeah.
And what would you say now with having 3 films, what's the difference like from Party Night to Teacher Shortage? What is the difference with like your directing style or writing style or just filmmaking style in general? How have you grown from Party Night to Mrs. Claus to Teacher Shortage?
That's a great question. I think you definitely see a progression of the technical technical stuff of the technical aspects of the films certainly get better as they with each film. When I did Party Night, I had no idea honestly what I was doing. I'd never been on a film set before. That wasn't my forte. I know a lot of indie filmmakers, they grow up wanting to do that and making films when they're kids, filming stuff in their backyard, making little home movies and stuff. I never did that. I didn't go to film school. That wasn't my focus. I was a writer. I wrote the scripts. I thought I had written like 3 or 4 slasher scripts, and Party Night was one that I thought, oh, this would be a fun little slasher film. It's supposed to be kind of an homage to all of the 80s slasher films that I grew up loving, like The Mutilator and, Prom Night and all that stuff. So I got the bright idea that, hey, I could probably, get this made. And when I initially set out to do it, I brought my really good friend Renee Smith on as a producer, and she had a lot of theater background and she had a lot of connections. So working with her, we kind of came up with the plan to get it going. And, crowdfunding at the time was a big thing. Crowdfunding still is a big thing. However, it has gotten a lot more difficult to raise funds.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I wasn't even going to direct the film. We actually hired a director. And if you look at the postcard that you got signed, the original director's name is actually listed on it, not my name.
Really?
We brought him on, and about 2-3 days into filming, we realized it wasn't working out.
Your name is on this, actually.
Is it? Okay, so that must be a new one. Okay, the original ones I sent out had his name on them, and like I guarantee you, the sign poster that you have, it says directed by him.
Would that be Kevin by chance?
No. Kevin Summerfield he kind of got a producer credit. He did Don't Go to the Reunion and Dismembering Christmas, Irrational Fear. He was kind of my inspiration for actually going through with actually getting Party Night done. But long story short, about 3 days in, I just realized this guy wasn't the right fit. We weren't seeing kind of eye to eye vision wise in terms of what I wanted for the film. So basically I made the decision to kind of let him go, which was hard to do because we flew him in from out of state and everything, but it was just the right thing creatively to do. But we're sitting there and we're like, well, what are we going to do? We don't have a director now. And my cinematographer at the time and my actors were like, well, Troy, you wrote the script, you have the vision, you probably know more than anybody what you want from the film, so you could probably do it. Just directing is pretty basic. You just tell the actors what to do, how you want them to respond. So I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And it was fun. I got a lot of support from the cast and the crew. We had a tiny crew, but I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot with Party Night. It's rough around the edges, but I learned a lot. So then with Mrs. Claus, I kind of took what I learned from Party Night and wanted to improve. Obviously, I knew a lot more about directing and just filmmaking in general, blocking, camera angles, all that stuff. So Mrs. Claus was a lot easier to go into. I felt a little bit more confident going into Mrs. Claus as a director than I did Party Night, obviously. And then with teacher shortage, it was kind of an opportunity to really do something a little bit different in terms of style. It's when I started to think about, well, okay, so I've made these 2 slasher films, Party Night and Mrs. Claus, which are pretty straightforward slasher flicks. I don't want to repeat that. So what could we do different with teacher shortage, even though it is still a slasher film? This would be a really good opportunity to start demonstrating some, style as a director, visual style. So I took a lot of inspiration from some of my favorite films. I'm a big Giallo fan, so like Suspiria is one of my favorite films. I love Argento. Yeah, I love Argento's Giallo films, Deep Red, Tenebrae. So I was like, okay, teacher shortage kind of lends itself to that particular style in a way. So because you have older characters, it's not teenagers being chased around, being killed. It's actually older, So I wanted it to be a little bit more mature. looking. So after some discussions, we decided to just make it sort of almost feel like a giallo film in terms of how it's filmed, lighting, acting, things like that. But I learned a lot, and I think I improved as a writer as well. I think the scripts, I think the script for Teacher Shortage is definitely a lot more deep than the previous two films. So
it feels like, well, it's 86 minutes. Excuse me. So it's the length of a movie, of a real movie. And you shot this in, or at least it came out in 2020. Yeah, you're listed as like co-producer, writer, director. Fright Meter Films, is that your company?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell us about Fright Meter Films.
That's just my production company. I came up with the name. I don't really like the name that much anymore. It's kind of been established, so I don't really want to change it. But let's see. Back in, I want to say like 2004, 2005, I started a blog called frightmeter.com. It's still up. You can look at it. But I used to do reviews for horror films. There's probably over 200 reviews on there. I also did interviews. I interviewed, like Lynn Shay, Lucky McKee, Tracy Lords. There's all these interviews on frightmeter.com. And I also started the Fright Meter Awards, which started out just on my blog. It was kind of like the horror Oscars, because I'm a big Oscar buff. So every year I would just nominate, my choices for like best horror movie, best actor, best actress. But then it kind of cultivated into this big thing where I was able to get about a committee of about 60 people that were actors, bloggers, throughout the horror community, that we became the kind of the voting body that we would nominate and select the winners, and the winners would get a custom trophy that I had made. And so you can go on the Fright Meter Awards page and see like all of these really cool people that I still can't believe have these trophies that they're showing, like Lynn Shay, Lee Wanell, the director, writer of Saw, the writer of Saw, the first Saw, Tracy Lords, the Soska sisters, all these things. So when I did my production company, I was like, well, Fright Meter is already kind of a name that's a little bit established. So I just used it and it flowed well. Fright Meter Films. I like alliteration. So it just sounded good. So that's kind of why I chose that name.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. You should probably keep it then, since it's, got all that. Or you could even do like just like a second company, like a sub company.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that, that works. And so I want to ask you about Wild Eye for 1 second. So you write stirring, you make stirring, you think it's stirring, you bring this out. This is where would this copy come from?
That was our crowdfunding copy. So when the film was completed, of course, before I even had distribution, I really am a big proponent of, like, if you run a crowdfunding campaign, you better provide the perks that you promise.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my priority right away, is I got these copies made and I wanted to get them out to the people that supported the film, because the film could not have been made without people like you supporting it. And I truly appreciate it. So I wanted to get it in the hands of the people that actually helped make it as soon as possible. So those are the crowdfunding copies. Now, Wild Eye had picked up Party Night, and they basically, because they picked up Party Night, I'm like, hey, I'm doing a second film. This is the concept. Here's a little teaser trailer. Would you guys be interested in it? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. So I sent it to them. Send them all the deliverables and stuff. And then I get the lovely email saying, well, we decided for marketing purposes that we're going to change the name and the cover art. They actually wanted to change the cover art to Party Night as well. And what they wanted to change it to was really, I thought, I don't want to say bad, not good. So I really fought with them to keep the original cover art, and they agreed.
Yeah, because this is a good cover.
Yeah, they agreed to keep it. And then I find out that the one that they sent me that they were going to change it to, they ended up using for a different movie.
Oh,
Yeah. But they sent me the cover art for Mrs. Claus, and I'm like, okay. I said it, whatever, you guys know best. They were like, yeah, we want to capitalize on the fact that it's a Christmas film, and we think that using the title Mrs. Claus is so like just generic that when people search Mrs. Claus, your film will inevitably pop up and catch interest because people see it. So I was like, okay, whatever, it's in their contract that they have the right to change cover art and titles. So
I mean, they still got stirring in there.
they did, but that's actually a tagline for another movie, All Through the House.
Oh,
which I'm been Facebook friends with the director of All Through the House for a while now. It's kind of a joke between us that they used his tagline for my movie. So
it was a tagline that he wasn't using, or is it actually on his film?
It's on it. Yeah.
They just took it.
I don't know if they probably didn't take it. They probably, I mean, it's a very basic, a creature is stirring. I mean, that's the line right from the 12 Nights of, what is it? The 12 Nights of Christmas? No, the Night Before Christmas. That's how I got the title of the film. Was that line. I just thought stirring was a simple little title that kind of could have evoked a lot of emotions, but they didn't think it was, they thought it was confusing. I don't know. They didn't think it sounded like a horror film. Well, I don't think Mrs. Claus does either, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, because I mean, I can only imagine, like, because I've interviewed a lot of people who've had their titles changed because of them, and I buy Wild Eye films and they change their titles. So I always wonder, like, how does a filmmaker really deal with this? I mean, you ponder on what a title is, and then you get the poster, and that's a good poster, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're just going to change it to something a little more, generic, I guess. Or, I mean, I guess if this was sitting in Walmart, it might catch the eye a little bit better than stirring, because it does kind of have that Krampus thing going.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing they tried to capitalize on. You have to keep in mind, Krampus had come out around the same time. So I think they were trying to capitalize on that whole success of Krampus as well by making the Mrs. Claus on the cover of that look very demonic, when in fact in the film it's just a killer wearing a Mrs. Claus mask and outfit. There's nothing supernatural about the film. Yeah. So, but hey, I mean, it worked. The film got a lot of attention. I have to say they really did a good job with marketing it. So, I mean, it was in Walmart's, it was in Family Videos. They got they sent press releases out for it to all the major horror sites. So it got articles in Bloody Disgusting, Dread Central. The trailer of it was picked up by GameStop of all places, and they posted it on their Facebook page. So the last time I looked, the trailer that they posted, they reposted the trailer for it. It has 700,000 views. So yeah, I mean, so it got some attention. So I mean, I can't really harp on them for not promoting the film. They promoted the heck out of it. They didn't really do the same for Party Night, which I can see why. This one has a novelty to it. Mrs. Claus, you don't see a lot of horror movies with Mrs. Claus as a villain. So that was the novelty of this film that I think really sold it and made it something unique. So
yeah, it's kind of like all those Krampus films. And of course you're friends with Roger Connors.
Yes.
And I've had him on the show twice now. And the second time I had him on was because I didn't realize how much work he did with Mother Krampus 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one that they changed
yes,
the distributor changed the title on and all that type of stuff. And so I was very curious, about how all that happened. So these type of things I'm very curious about, because I don't know. I mean, a filmmaker told me, he said that it was a second chance. So this is your film's first chance. It went out, everybody got it, they got stirring, and then it got picked up and changed to this. So now it's kind of like a second kind of, I don't want to say chance, because chance makes it sound like it bombed or something, but it's kind of like a redo or something. So then, and I bought it. So, I mean, I have both.
Yeah. I mean, and the only people that the only people that saw the stirring version of it again were the crowdfunding backers, and it played the festival circuit as stirring. I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm way more upset that they cut the opening scene than I am that they changed the title and artwork. Because
That's so bizarre.
when I watched Mrs. Claus, the version Mrs. Claus, as a viewer, I would have been confused as far as what was going on because they cut the pivotal moments of that opening scene out. And then they cut one of the death scenes in the opening when Kylie Williams gets stabbed in the opening scene. They cut the amount of stabs that she gets to make it less brutal. Because it goes on. I mean, if you remember that opening stab kill scene she gets stabbed a shit ton of times. It goes on forever.
It's like censorship. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not, especially with the type of company that they are, that doesn't make sense.
Again, their reasoning was because Amazon Prime was really cutting down on films with explicit sexual content, especially like sexual abuse content. And the whole opening scene of that film is a sorority hazing, where a sorority pledge is forced to do something very humiliating. So with a giant black dildo.
So now do you now think about that? Like while writing Teacher Shortage or any upcoming films, do you now kind of go like, oh, what does Walmart want? Or what does Prime want? Or anything like that?
No, I don't, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm to the point now, if I made another film, which I'm planning on it, I'm not going to much worry about that. Distributors, it comes down to like, I'd rather do the film that I want to do and just go through the distribution route than to deal with another distributor again. So, I mean, I went with a different distributor with Teacher Shortage, as we'll get to talk about that here in a bit, but my experience with distributors hasn't been the most positive or beneficial. I will just say that. So now I don't really think about it, because if I do another film, chances are I'm just going to self-distribute it. I mean, I'm not making money. Here's my thing is I'm not making money from the distributors. So what's the difference if I self-distribute the film and don't make money either? At least I have control over it,
Well, it kind of seems like if they're going to have something on Prime and they think it needs to be cut, okay, then do an Amazon Prime cut.
Yeah.
And just leave that on Amazon Prime and then release the actual film.
That was my thing is like, they cut it out. Why did you cut it out of the DVD then? It doesn't make any sense, but they did. So I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
So for the people that have seen Mrs. Claus and watched the Mrs. Claus version, if that opening scene seemed a little confusing to you, I'm sorry. If you watch the original stirring version, it's not confusing at all. It's actually very graphic, and you definitely know exactly what happens. So, I mean, to the point where the actress Mel Heflin was, willing. I'll just go this way. I should go this route. She was willing to pretty much do whatever it took to make the scene look as realistic as possible. I mean, this poor girl actually drank out of the toilet in the opening. I know we told her not to. I said, don't do that, but we did. She wanted to. She wanted to make it look as realistic as possible. So there's that opening shot with the GoPro we have in the toilet, and you can see her face go down into the toilet, and you actually see her lick the water.
Hopefully that toilet was clean.
Well, we cleaned it. Yeah, we bleached it out real good. So, but I told her she didn't have to do it, but she wanted to. If an actress is willing to do it, hey,
Yeah. Okay. All right. And isn't one of these getting a sequel?
Mrs. Claus. Yeah, I'm working on it right now. I'm excited. Okay. It's almost done. I'm going to start really going heavy on pre-production here really soon. And so hopefully it will be able to happen. So
nice.
Yeah, it's a fun sequel. It took me a long time to actually, I started writing it like right after Teacher Shortage. And then I just did not like the direction it was going. So I had to literally scrap it and start all over. And it really took me a while to come up with a sequel plot that I thought was intriguing, had some mystery behind it, was different, and then but also kind of continued with the first film. Like the sequel is definitely a continuation of the first film. Characters that were in the first film come back. It's the same setting. It's just a different sort of vibe now. It's more brutal. I really think that my whole concept is like really making Mrs. Claus become like, you know, an iconic like slasher villain. So the kills in this one, the sequel, are really a much more brutal and elaborate, and the plot is, I think, pretty interesting. There's a lot of twists, much like the first one had a twist ending. This one's going to have a huge twist ending that I don't think people will see coming. So I'm really excited about it. I'm almost done. So.
Oh, so what will it have will we be seeing possibly a part 3?
Hey, you never know.
And once part 2 is done, are you going to talk to Wild Eye or just do something else?
I had actually contacted them a while back when I started the sequel to ask them if I could do it, because since they actually own the name Mrs. Claus, or that's their property now, or their whatever you want to call it, intellectual property, because they changed the title. So they gave me permission. They would definitely be the ones that would distribute the film, since it is a sequel to technically their film. However, my contract with them ends. It's only a 5-year contract, so I could, go my own route with it. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, because it's interesting. You hear about this type of stuff, like the Weinsteins were notorious for cutting 10 minutes out of each film.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Smith tells that story of Clerks, that when they were looking at it, the representative from Miramax said, be prepared to cut 10 minutes. So when he tells you have to cut 10 minutes, you better already have that in your head of what's going to go. And then he released that version later for the anniversary one. I think it's like a VHS version of it, but it's 10 minutes longer. So I guess just some of these companies just have to make it their own for some reason, instead of, like they're actually part of the process.
Yeah.
When they're not. And it's all you're doing is hurting people.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
So
you live and learn.
Yeah. And then with like scrapping, that's what I did with Aximus. The first Aximus is, they're only 30 minutes. So I was writing it, and it was just a slasher film. It's just a guy living inside a unit that was killing the tenants when they came in, and then he would hide the bodies in the storage unit. And I thought, God, this is boring. This is really boring. It's like, we've seen this 1,000 times. It could be any generic killer. And then for some reason, Christmas and Santa came up, and it was like, well, I want to make a Silent Night, Deadly Night type movie. And I want to do a Christmas slasher film. And once I did that, boom, the floodgates opened.
Oh yeah. I think, and that's been really the cool thing. And the original Black Christmas is my favorite horror film of all time. I have a Black Christmas tattoo. I adore the film. So once I successfully, once I wrote Party Night, I was like I remember even when we were filming Party Night, I had started the script for Stirring. I had about 18 pages of it done, and I was letting the actors on set of Party Night read it to see what they thought. And they loved it. And I ended up bringing all of the actors from Party Night back for Mrs. Claus. And it all started from that point when they were on set in Party Night. I was letting them read the opening pages that I'd already had done. And they're like, God, we have to be in this. We love, but it's really cool when you have a Christmas themed film, because every year, every Christmas, every December, and inevitably I start getting tagged by all these random people that are watching it, that have come across it, and it's one of the films they're watching for the December, and it's just really cool. These Christmas themed films have a life to them. People discover them. Now some of them, it's weird. Some of them, there's a lot of Christmas films that you just never hear about. They come and go. But there's a few that generally people will latch onto and watch every year. And that's kind of when I wrote the script. I really wanted to do something different with the villain. I didn't want it to be another killer Santa Claus. So I was thinking, what's different? I was thinking like an elf, somebody dressed as an elf, and I thought that's going to look stupid. So I just happened to think about Mrs. Claus. I'm like, okay, cool. It actually fits the plot since it takes place at a sorority and everything. So that's kind of how it got started.
Yeah, that would have looked bad if it was an adult in an elf outfit
yeah.
sitting on a shelf.
Right.
You know? Maybe even breaking that shelf. So, well, since you're a big Black Christmas fan, do you go along with the theory that Halloween is the sequel to Black Christmas? Bob Clark has kind of accepted that in a way.
I don't think it's the sequel. I think that it's very obvious that John Carpenter had seen Black Christmas before doing Halloween. There's just too many influences that I don't think are coincidental. So
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I'll say. I love Halloween. I mean, I love the film Halloween. I love Halloween. I've never really thought about it as like a sequel to Black Christmas though. Because, Michael Myers doesn't talk, doesn't torment his victims via telephone. You never hear Michael Myers say a word, whereas Billy in Black Christmas was very, very vocal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did like those phone calls.
Yeah. I just think that Halloween is kind of a cool, maybe continuation of the vibe that Black Christmas was responsible, I think, for really creating. So a lot of the killer POV shots and, shots of long shots with something going on in the background that your eye is catching. But yeah, I love both films. I just to give Black Christmas the edge because I think the characters in Black Christmas are a little bit more fleshed out.
Yeah, it's a great film, and I even like I like the first remake.
Yeah, I do too.
I hate the second one with an absolute passion. But I like I've grown to like the first remake. I didn't like it when I first saw it.
Well, yeah, the first remake makes this latest one look like, I mean, yeah, this latest one, I don't even know why they called it Black Christmas. It has nothing to do with.
No, not at all. No, it's really insulting. So
yeah.
But so let's get more into then teacher shortage, because that's actually why we're here.
Yeah.
It's good to talk about movies and stuff like that. But so here is a picture of the killer. So what would you say this is? So if we have Mrs. Claus here dressed up in like the Mrs. Claus outfit and all that, what killer is this?
That is the devil graduation killer. In the script, I did not have a solid description of the killer's outfit. The killer was wearing in the script, the killer was wearing wears like a black graduation gown with a white mask. I think that's about the most descript I get in the actual screenplay for Teacher Shortage. I reached out to several people that made custom masks, and just happened to find this particular guy that designed the mask. I believe his he goes by Mad Mask Man. And he sent me a couple sketches and came up with that one. And when I saw it, I was like, yes, that's it. I love it. It's the white, it almost looks kind of like the ghost face sort of image, but then it has the horns and the very black mouth and black eyes, which I loved. And then just for aesthetic reasons, because we decided to go with a lot of colorful lighting, like red lighting and stuff like that. For the aesthetic reasons, I changed the gown from black to red.
Yeah, I've noticed that the kills all of a sudden turn red. And I'm like, he's going gallow. That's okay. I get that. I understand that. And so that was from the beginning. Was that always your idea with this, or was that more of an on-set type?
No, we had discussed it with my cinematographer before we even started filming. We actually experimented with different gel lights. There was a couple times before we even started filming the film that I would go over to his place and we would just experiment with the lighting. He bought a gel light kit and just see what colors look best. And there's actually a purpose behind, the color changing red, because you might be like, oh, you're just full of shit, you're just saying this, but really it's like the kills that are from the killer's perspective, like when the killer is approaching someone and is going to kill them and you're watching it from the killer's perspective, that's when the lighting changes red, because it's supposed to be sort of a symbolic of his like rage and hate, right? Okay. There are a couple scenes there, if you notice, there are a couple deaths in the film that do not have that lighting. And if you watch the film again, those deaths that do not have that lighting, you're not getting them from the killer's perspective. Like there is a scene where a teacher's on a bed and gets a machete shoved up through him. That the lighting does not change for that particular death scene because that's not from the killer's perspective.
Right, because do you mind spoilers a little bit?
No, I mean, guys, if you haven't seen it, you don't want it spoiled, quit watching and watch it and come back.
Watch it and then come back to this.
Yeah.
Because that was they were under the bed with a machete and it goes up. So I guess that wouldn't make sense for their point of view.
Yeah.
Because you want to see the machete come up through.
Yeah. So you're seeing that you're not seeing the death from the killer's eyes. You're seeing it from the actual character lying on the bed. But all the other deaths that are from the killer's perspective are the red lighting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually didn't. I do. Now that I think of it, yeah. I mean, I didn't realize that before. So I'll have to watch it again now from that perspective.
Yeah.
And what made you come up with the idea for this film? So you have a party that takes place at like a college. You got the sorority for Christmas, and now you have teachers. Hey, you're kind of college based.
Well, I'm a teacher, so
write what you know.
And in fact, most of the dialogue in the film and Teacher Short is actually like real dialogue that I've heard as a teacher in education for, like I said, 16 years. Like that whole department meeting scene at the beginning of the film where the teachers are at the department meeting and the department chair, Miss Steele, is talking to them about not giving zeros and blah blah blah. That's actually conversations that I've sat through. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. I can't think of many movies or slasher movies where teachers are being killed. Generally it's the students. Right. So you're right, I started with Party Night where it's high school students. Mrs. Claus is college, and so I was like, I'm not going to do that again. I want to do something different. And I remember a long time ago, like years ago, talking with a friend and just kind of joking around that it would be so cool to have a movie where teachers were being killed off. And I remember having that conversation. So then I'm like, okay, I think it's a really cool time to do that sort of thing because you don't see it. And I just, like I said, I just wanted to do something different. And I felt like you said, you write what you know. So the dialogue for the most part was easy to write. Each of the teacher characters were based off of like real combinations of real colleagues that I've had in the past. And
great.
So So it was just, it was a lot of write what you know. I think I like to think of Teacher Short as possibly as maybe also like a black comedy that is really making a lot of statements about the state of education right now.
Do. I noticed that. Yeah. There's a couple speeches that talk about that. And Julianne Prescott brings it up when she's the bartender near the end. She talks about why she has to work 2 jobs. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that teachers got the raw end of everything. And I used to work in a video store long time ago. I mean, this is, when VHS was still around. And I would have a couple of teachers come in and they would rent movies for the class. I would give it to them for free. I thought just like, why do you have to pay for this? Why isn't the school or the government paying for this? Or something. This doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. So I just told him, we'll bring it back on time, make sure it's not late, but, I'll give it to you for free. Yeah. And that's, how they have to go out and buy pencils and paper and all that type of stuff. It's an absolute joke. And both sides of the aisle are to blame for that. It's they could give educators more money and they just choose not to.
Absolutely. And, and I feel sorry for teachers these last couple of years, because the pandemic has only made their jobs a lot more stressful. And we talk about teacher shortage, and right now there really is a true teacher shortage throughout the country right now, and it's only going to get worse, in my opinion. I see it every day. I see the burnout. I have not worked. I've not been in a school year ever in my 16 years where I've actually seen so many teachers quit mid-year.
Oh, wow.
That's usually a big no-no for teachers, because if you break your contract, you're pretty much screwed. You're not going to get another job. But this year and last year, I've seen so many teachers quit mid-year, and they're like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I guess it's kind of a good thing for me, because when people are Googling teacher shortage and they want to read about the actual real teacher shortage, inevitably my movie is going to pop up. So, hey.
So is this, I mean, kind of your, obviously there's, like we talked about, there's mentions of school issues and stuff like that. So is this kind of your message, or like you're just kind of like getting your anger out?
I would say I was getting my anger out. I would say that I was just trying to make a film that, while it was a slasher film, also sort of had a message, and because I'm a teacher, it just felt like it was the right sort of topic to make that message about, because I know it very well. I think, like I said, I think of my three films, it's definitely the most mature film. It's the most stylish film. It's my favorite film of the three. So yeah, I mean, you want to improve, right? With each film, you want to improve. And I really feel like my films definitely show an improvement with each one. So otherwise, if you're not improving and you're just doing kind of the same thing over and over again, I don't know. It's kind of like, what's the point, right? Really?
Have you gotten any, like, from people watching this going, oh, that's not what a school's like. Teachers don't do that. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, in fact, the opposite. I've gotten several people respond to me and say, you nailed it.
Nice.
And in fact, like, if you look, I don't really do this just because I don't really, I mean, I care, but I don't really care that. Like, if you go on IMDb and read some of the reviews, or like Letterboxd and read some of the reviews, they'll trash the film and say it's like the worst film they've ever seen. But they'll say, but this person's obviously a teacher, because this is exactly how public education is. So that's a good thing, because that's what I wanted to hear. I swear to God, I would love to like get a bunch of teachers in a theater and just show this to them. Horror fans or not, because I guarantee they're going to be like, oh my God, this is my daily life right here on screen. Minus getting pencils shoved through their eyeballs and rulers.
A ruler, yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's. I kind of got the same thing on the first Xmas, as somebody like tore the film apart. I had one person call it an abortion, and I thought, wow, what did Xmas do to you? But but somebody ripped the shreds out of it, but did say, obviously the guy who wrote this works at a storage facility, because he's using jargon that you would only use if you worked at a storage facility. So it's like, oh, okay. Well, thank you. I guess that's nice.
You take any positive you can get, because once your film is released to the masses, it's fair game. People are gonna stumble upon it that aren't necessarily familiar with indie filmmaking and lower budget films. They're used to the huge budget shit that they see in the theaters. So then they stumble across a little film that was made for $10,000 or less, and they're gonna pick it apart. Right. And say it's the worst thing they've ever seen. So
yeah, a lot of people just they don't understand it, and they tend to think that they could just do it.
Yeah.
It is, you don't realize, even if it's a 5-minute film, how difficult it is to schedule. Scheduling is the worst.
And getting, and I love the comments when people say, oh, this looks like it was a a junior high project filmed on a cell phone. I've seen that many times about all of my films. I'm like, oh, geez.
I've seen some good looking films that were shot on a phone.
Right. You can do it. But we didn't use a cell phone. I guarantee that.
Yeah. No, I would think not. So, well, let's look at the casting here, because I got my phone here. And so we brought up Brink Stevens, who's always awesome to work with.
Yes.
Deborah Lamb, who's reached out to me a couple times. I'd like to work with her. She's on my list. So she was good. She commanded those scenes.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's why I cast her, because she did her audition and she really brought a quirkiness to the character that I was looking for. Right. And she does very much command the screen when she's on it. So yeah, I thought she was a really good choice.
Yeah, and for that role, definitely.
And Brink, I reached out to her to do the film. I'd worked with her with Mrs. Claus, and I told her, you know, I'm working on my next film. I really want you to be a part of it. I said, it's a really small role, but it's really fun and you will really appreciate it. And I told her, I said, if you don't do this, then I'm probably cutting the scene, because I don't want anybody else to do this particular scene. And she's like, okay, send me the scene. So I sent her the scene, and she responded, and she's like, oh my God, that is brilliant. I cannot believe nobody else has ever thought to do that with me, because we basically recreate her entire chase scene from the Slumber Party Massacre.
I was going to ask you, I didn't want to interrupt you. I was going to ask that is from Slumber Party Massacre, because she even gets it in the arm.
Yep.
And she's holding it with like the blood coming down.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right.
And she agreed to do it, but if she wouldn't have done it, I would have cut that scene, because I wanted an homage to Slumber Party Massacre with her in it. I've always wanted to do that. And luckily she came in and she was fair game. She was more than willing to do it. So we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Cause she, I just have nothing bad to say about her. Nothing.
No, she's so sweet. She's such a trooper. She'll do whatever, you have her do. I mean, God, I've killed her off now twice by shoving shit in her mouth, and she's perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, I was on Meat Hook 4. She gets her neck cut near the end, and I was just like, Brink, would you mind getting on the ground? Would you mind like falling on the ground? Because it was a dirty floor, because it was a bar, and I was like, do you mind? And, being very like, oh, I don't want to say something I don't, want to regret. And she's like, yeah, sure, I'll just get down on the floor. It's like, oh, thank God,
Yeah.
So happy about that. And then we got, of course, Julianne Prescott, that's another person we've worked with. So I've worked with her now 3 times.
Okay.
So she's in a short film I did called Skull Evil. She's in Meat Hook 4 and in a short found footage film called If I Can't Have You.
Oh yeah.
That will actually be up on YouTube the following week that this airs.
Okay, cool.
So so people can see her in that, and she's great to work with too. I've worked with her also on some other stuff like Night of the Zomghouls and things that I wasn't making, that I was just crew, and she's always fun to work with. So
yeah, she was great. Love.
Yeah, and then we got Tamara Glenn. Is that how you see her last name? Glenn.
Yeah, Tamara Glenn. Yep, from
Tamara Glenn. So that's Halloween 5.
Halloween 5. She's Samantha in Halloween 5. Yep.
So she's at the very end. You have 2 like in credit scenes at the end of the film. So people who watch Teacher Shortage watch it all the way through.
Well, that's how I know people didn't watch the whole thing, because I had a couple people message me when I first when it first came out, and they're like, "Oh my God. Okay, so you advertised Tamara Glenn in your film, and she's only in it one short scene at the beginning." And I'm like, did you stay past the first credits? No. Well, you better go and watch again, because that's her big moment. So
yeah, she has a fair amount of dialogue in that. So yeah, definitely go back. And then you got Kylie Williams.
Yep.
So
who I worked with, she's in the opening of Mrs. Claus. She's the bitchy sorority sister. So I felt like I had to redeem her and give her this role where she's like a sweet, innocent, likable character this time around.
You did a Matthew Broderick on her. So yeah. Matthew Broderick was Ferris Bueller, and then he came back as the teacher in Election.
Yeah.
So you took her from the student and made her a teacher.
Yeah, because everyone hated her in Mrs. Claus. Everyone hates her. So wanted to redeem her.
Well, good. And then Roger Connors, who I really like, who is on my list for somebody who I definitely want to work with. So
yeah, he's amazing. Great actor. Great friend.
Big fan of his film Rebirth. So
yeah. Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, very impressed with that.
Mm-hmm.
Mel Heflin.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta like her, and I'm a fan of her. Talked to her a couple times, and then some of these actors I don't know, so I'm not going to go through them just because I'm not sure who they are. But we got and then David McMahon.
Yeah,
so he's good. So was there a teacher like him who was just rude and offensive?
There's a lot of teachers like him. Come on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's like the combination of several teachers that I've had or worked with. Yeah.
Oh man, that's got to be a drag. I mean,
good old Mr. Curtis.
And then I don't know him, but I'm going to mention him because he's the lead. So that would be Chris. How do you say his last name?
Jennert. Chris Jennert.
Mm-hmm. So he's our lead. And he's good. So he's the new guy. And so he's unfortunately got to put up with everybody's crap.
Yeah.
So from somebody taking their job way too seriously to David.
Yeah, right.
Who just doesn't care.
Yep.
Who's about to retire. So, and then I noticed in the credits, my God, there's a lot of students in this film.
There was a lot of extras for that opening scene. Yeah. Which I'm glad because that was seriously my biggest concern was how are we going to be able to get enough extras to make this opening scene look like it's an actual real scenario. That was one of the things, like in Party Night, we struggled with getting extras. There's a classroom scene in Party Night at the very beginning, and we struggled getting extras. So we were rounding up everybody. So you look in that classroom scene, and there's people that are clearly like 50 years old that are sitting just because we just had to make it look like the class was full. This one, we were super lucky. We were super lucky to get that many extras to show up. The guy that plays the teacher at the beginning, his name is Joe Grassafi. He's a very well-known Houston actor. He is pretty much the one that is responsible for us being able to get that many extras. He contacted a bunch of talent agencies for me, and the amount of interest that came rolling in my email was overwhelming. I mean, we probably had more extras than we needed, but it actually then makes that scene just look realistic, and it gives this film some production value to it. So that was really cool. We filmed that opening scene and Brink's death scene. We filmed that in December of 2018, and it was over 3 days. That opening scene with the girl, the classroom, and then the girl committing suicide, and then Brink's death scene was all filmed in 3 days in December, and then we filmed the rest of the film in March. So,
okay. And what about the school?
The school was it's actually a community college in Houston, in the Houston area.
And they were okay with shooting a whole, I mean, we all know about the problems that Scream had with that one high school.
Yeah. So
was there any pushback when you wanted to do it?
No, I really didn't tell them necessarily what was going to be happening in the film. I mean, I told them it was a horror film, and I said, but I didn't really get into great details that, we're going to kill some people off in your bathrooms and stuff. But, they were fine. They were fine with it.
And how did you shoot that? Was it weekends, nights?
We filmed that the opening scene and then Brink's scene in three different nights. And then the rest of the film we filmed in 16 days, just straight through. I don't necessarily like, I'm not a big fan of like filming a film like in like segments, you know what I mean? Like filming some of it and then waiting a couple of weeks and filming, because I think that it's really difficult then for continuity. So we just 16 days filmed straight through. Everyone else came to set, stayed in the house, and when they were killed, they would leave, and until we got down to the nitty gritty, to the last few people. Yeah.
A couple other people to mention would be like Michael, is it Tula?
Michael Tula, yep.
So he played Brent.
Yeah, he's also a local Houston actor out of Houston. He was amazing. I really liked him, and his performance in the film I think is really stellar.
And then Samantha Marie is in this, so she's Alice.
Yes, the uptight, goody two shoe teacher that everyone wants to slap because she's.
Well, that's what I was wondering, was with somebody like that, with her character compared to David's, if these were based off of people that it's just like, oh God, this must be a nightmare.
Well, I mean, when you're a teacher, you're kind of forced to work with other teachers, and teachers can be some of the oddest people out there, to be honest with you.
Why did you take on teaching? What got you into that instead of something
else?
Well,
I had a third grade teacher that I absolutely loved. And from that point forward, I always said I wanted to be a teacher just because I loved Miss Kale so much. And I was like, oh, if Miss Kale could have that impact on me, I want to be able to do that with students. So it just seemed like a logical thing. And it was either that or be a veterinarian. And I didn't really want to go to school I realized real quick I wasn't good with like chemistry and all the stuff that's required to be a veterinarian. So teaching it was, and I love English. I love reading. I love writing. So most of my career was a high school English teacher. And then for the last 8 years, I've been a librarian, a high school librarian. So I did get out of teaching. I got out of the classroom. I'm still in education, but I'm a librarian now. So I get to promote literacy and reading and stuff like that, technology to the students.
So there's your next film.
Right.
It's based in a library.
Yeah. Well, they already did, there's that Volumes of Blood that PJ Starks did. I think the first one is basically centered around a library.
Yeah. He doesn't own a library, he does not own stock in that. So I've seen it. It's a good film. I liked it, but it's an anthology. I mean, you could just do a straightforward slasher flick that takes place in the library. Get some great shots going past all those aisles of books.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there anybody who I left off that we should mention then? As far as casting goes?
I think you got it all. I mean, we had I'm trying to think. Ashley de Porta plays the girl at the beginning that gets bullied. I mean, she doesn't have a huge part, but she was really good. But I think that's it. Yeah, that's the cast.
And with her committing suicide at the beginning, that's is that anything that's based on something that really happened?
I'm sure it has. I mean, nothing I personally experienced, but I know, the whole film kind of centers around also bullying being a huge problem in public schools. And you just hear, it doesn't take much to Google, bullied student committing suicide. It's happened way more times than it should have. So it just seemed like to be honest with you, I struggled really hard thinking of an opening scene that would be a catalyst for what happened with the film. Part of me was trying to outdo what I did with Mrs. Claus's opening scene, because everyone loves Mrs. Claus's opening scene. And it's probably the opening scene in Mrs. Claus, the opening like 6 or 7 minutes, is my favorite of any of my films. I love it. Up to the hanging scene, I just love how everything looks and comes together. So part of me was like, oh, I got to top that. But then I realized it really wasn't about topping that. It was about doing something that logically made sense as a catalyst for the rest of the film. So while the opening scene to Teacher Shortage isn't as flashy and big as the opening scene to Mrs. Claus, I think more effective almost because it's grounded more in reality.
Okay. Yeah, it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it almost seemed like you have to do for Mrs. Claus 2, outdo yourself. But for teacher shortage, yeah, it just seems to be something that makes more sense that a high school student would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and what was your budget like for the film?
Well, I did a crowdfunding campaign. I think my goal was 12,000 for this one, and we ended up raising about 13.
Oh,
And
okay.
when all said and done with editing and everything, I think the film probably came out to be about 20, which is not bad. For I think I will say I think the film looks way more expensive than what it was. When I
Well,
tell people,
especially with your locations,
yeah,
because you got
when
the
I tell people
school,
we got the
house,
school, the house, the bar, yeah. I think when I tell people that total is about 20, they're like, well, it looks a lot more expensive, which I take as a compliment. I think one of the issues I had with my first two films is that they pretty much take place in one location. Party Night has the school scene at the beginning, but then it's that little house for the entire film. Mrs. Claus literally is one location the entire film. It's a house, and that's it. There's no other locations. So I was like, oh, I need to do something. I want to kind of up the production value to this film. So I want more locations. It was a pain in the ass hauling all. The more locations you have, the bigger pain in the ass it is to film, right? You have to move everything, take all the, but I think it benefited the film quite well. And I do love the final scene in the bar. I think it's really well. I think it turned out really great. I mean, we filmed in the bar for 4 nights, but we only had, about 5 hours each night because the bar would close at 2. And so we'd be there at 2. And then they would have someone come in at 8 a.m. to start getting ready because the bar opened at 10. So we didn't have a lot of time. And there was one night where we literally did not even get started filming because of issues until about 4 a.m. And I was freaking out because I'm like, well, there's no way we're going to get this whole bar scene done. But we did it. We were exhausted. We were cranky. There were moments where, the actors and me and, we're just going at it, just cranky with each other because we were so tired, but we got it done.
So with the bar, since we're on the bar, I like to bring up something here. And I am a political guy.
Yep.
And I am on the left-hand side of the aisle. So two of your characters are gay.
Yes.
And they are in the bar, and sometimes they are smooching. But yet in the background, there is clearly a Confederate flag. There is a Texans for Ted Cruz sign and a sticker that says Trump. And were those left in there intentionally? Would the bar not let you take them down? What's the story? Because they definitely seem to be conflicting.
The bar owner, I have to say, those things were in the bar as they were in the bar. The bar owner, though, it was a local bar. It was right down the street from me. And it was just a bar that I happened to go to a couple times because it was close to home. So like after work on the weekend, if I wanted to just relax and have a drink, I'd go there. And I became really good friends with a lot of people that this bar was full of regulars. Became friends with the bartenders. I'm still friends with the bartenders. The owner, Rob and Julie, were great. They let me film there for free. They didn't charge me. They let us do whatever we wanted, despite their political leanings or whatever. I have to say they were great. They let us go in there and do what we wanted. They came to the premiere. They did all kinds of shit. But yeah, they had the Ted Cruz and the Donald Trump stuff. And I thought it was funny because you do have these two gay characters who one of them, the younger one, is really pushing the idea of being in a relationship and kind of making it official. And the other character is like, no, look where we live. You know, you really think that that's going to be, we live in this small town where, you know, the parents have already tried to ban books with gay themes from the school. So it just made sense to move the Trump and Cruz sticker in the background when they're having this conversation and kissing. It's kind of to illustrate the fact that, yeah, these guys are in this small town that probably, you know, isn't going to be as accepting of their relationship as you would think. And I thought, well, what better way to illustrate that, right? Than to have that stuff in the background.
Well, and so especially in Texas.
It was it was very intentional that the stuff was there.
And did the owners didn't have a problem with that or anything? Like they thought maybe you might be mocking them or anything like that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. They never said anything about it, but I mean, it is what it is, right? You know, you use what you can, and you're not the first person to actually notice that and to mention it. So,
yeah, I always try to find small things, like just little stuff in the background, you know, like a book or something like that in there, and I don't know how I would have handled it myself, and maybe I should be a little more open-minded and easygoing, that if I had a free set to shoot on and there's a Confederate flag in the background, maybe, you know, have the camera go the other way, you know, instead of doing it. So yeah, it's so I you know, I think it's great that you left it in, and you know, that was it. Cause I went back and I went, wait, is that a flag? Is that a Confederate flag? And I scanned it back.
I don't know if it's a Confederate. I think it was the Donald Trump thing that had the X through it, the Confederate flag. Yeah. I don't remember, but I mean, to be honest with you, I'd been in that bar many times and never even noticed it until we were filming. I think when you're filming, you become much more aware of your surroundings because you do want to know what's in the background. You obviously want the background to be aesthetically pleasing, and you know, so we were moving shit around. I've been in that bar numerous times. Like I said, the owners have been nothing but nice to me the entire time I've known them. But I had never noticed it until we were filming, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it just how happens that these two gay characters, they're in here having a conversation basically about how, you know, small-minded the town is that they're in. So
right, yeah, it's be like somebody who's very nice and seems accepting, but for some reason they're reading Mein Kampf, you know.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's like, I don't know, you seem like a nice guy, but I don't know, I'm questioning your, you know, your choice in books. But of course I would probably read it just because it's history and it's fascinating, and you know, to get into the guy who wrote it. So, you know, who knows, maybe, you know, these things would, you know, not be looked at in the correct way if you just didn't ask. So,
true.
So what was your pre-production like then? Like how long did that take?
Gosh, pre-production generally takes, you know, I mean, I mean, from the time I finished the script, you know, pre-production, probably 8 or 9 months, you know, going through the casting process, going through the crowdfunding, going through finding locations, going through scheduling, and again, making the casting decisions. Yeah, it's about a good 7 or 8 months.
And with casting, what do you look for? I mean, obviously people you've worked with before are in this. How do you choose who to bring back, who's new, all that stuff?
I make everyone audition, you know, because just because I worked with them once before doesn't mean that they're going to be a fit for the next film or a character that's in the new film. So I make them audition, and because I do want to see that they are, like I said, the right fit. So I did make, you know, Kaylee audition. I did make everyone I had worked with prior audition, with the exception of Brink, because I wrote that scene specifically for her and I knew she could do it, you know. But everyone else auditioned, and it's just going through the tapes and watching them and seeing really who is bringing something real and unique to their character. And I think the actors that I assembled for Teacher Shortage definitely did that. I mean, I had a specific I mean, each of the characters in Teacher Shortage have very distinct personalities and very distinct traits. You know, you could almost say they're sort of caricatures, which they sort of are, because they are combinations of you got the goody two teacher, you got the, you know, the young doe-eyed first year teacher, you got the, you know, the cranky old, you know, disenchanted teacher, you got the jock teacher. So they all had specific traits. So I just watching the audition tapes, I'm just like, okay, who really gets it and who's bringing something unique to their character and not just reading the lines off the script. I like to look for, when I'm watching an audition, I like to look for little quirks that actors bring to their audition, to their character. They're not just reading the lines, they're actually bringing quirks, making the character their own. And I think every actor that I chose for Teacher Shortage did that, had little quirks that they brought into their audition that I thought would translate well then into the film. And they all worked really well together. I thought they had some really great chemistry. There were several characters that I thought had really great chemistry together. So I think it was the right choice. Yeah.
And do any of them have a problem with like auditioning? Again, it's like, come on, Troy, we already worked twice together. Why do I need to audition for this?
No, I think I mean, if you're an actor, you go with, you should know that that's probably going to be an expectation. Because like I said, just because you can play a really good bitchy character doesn't mean then you can go around and play a convincing, like sweet, innocent, likable character, and vice versa, you know? So, and I always try to, if I'm going to work with an actor a second or third time, I try to cast them in a role that's completely different than the one they did for the previous film that they were in of mine. So I do want them to audition. Like, for example, the three guys from Party Night that came back and did Mrs. Claus, each of their characters in Mrs. Claus are completely different than what they did in Party Night. It's almost like I switched them up. So.
And have any of them had any problems with the switch ups, you know, or is it just something that's very challenging?
They like it. They like being able to do different things, you know.
Like, not just play the same thing over again.
Yeah,
play
Billy,
the frat boy in this one. I'll be a party guy in the next one.
Exactly. It's fun for them to kind of do different things, be able to play different characters.
And once you've gone through pre-production, so what is just regular production like? Like you had mentioned, I think you said 16 days for the whole thing?
Well, Teacher Shortage total would have been 19 days, because we did film those 3 days in December, and then took a break through until March, and then brought the principal cast in, and 16 days we were on set. It's, you know, they all stayed in the house that we filmed in for the entire time, and we just. It's grueling. It's an indie film, so you're working a lot. Although I think by the time I got to Teacher Shortage, I became much better at scheduling, and so the days on Teacher Shortage in terms of like filming weren't as long as they were in Party Night. I mean, Party Night and Mrs. Claus had nights where we literally were 17, 18 hours straight. Oh. We didn't do that this time. I got much better at scheduling the time allotments and sticking to them, because I got to realize how long it actually took to do different angles and all the different takes and stuff like that. So it wasn't as a grueling film schedule with Teacher Shortage as it was the previous two films.
Yeah, I had somebody on Meat Oak 4 goes, okay, so we're shooting for 8 hours, right? I'm like, no, 16.
Yeah. I mean, that's,
and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, welcome to indie film. You know, this isn't like going to work. You know, you're not going to get a 15 in an hour.
And I think 16 days is not long at all. But then I hear these other indie filmmakers that are filming feature films in like 3 days and 5 days. I'm like, I have no idea how you could even do that. I mean,
they're bad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're not getting a lot of angles and creative oomph to your film. It's going to look very flat if you're filming a film. Yeah, one take. Yep. I don't know.
A lot of two shots, a lot of long shots, a lot of
Yeah. I mean, it can be done. I mean, people have done it, obviously, but
yeah. Some of them have been pretty good, but I mean, I'd go nuts trying to film. I could not imagine filming Teacher Shortage in 5 days. There's just no way.
No, because it has a, like you said, there's a more kind of like an adult feel to it, that there are issues that are brought up. There are conversations. It isn't just kill, 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 kill.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why the film is like 86 minutes, is because you actually have people having conversations, and they're not dumb conversations, like, how much beer can you drink type of thing. Is that you're actually bringing things up that matter. And that's something that I appreciated about the film. So it does feel more like a matured film, from its maker. So, that's something that I think that people will appreciate when they watch it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's definitely what I was going for sure.
And when you mentioned the house that they were staying in, is that the house that Deborah Lamb is,
yes,
the character owns?
Yeah, that's where we, that was our home base. Just a house in the middle of Houston, suburban Houston, not even suburban Houston. It was pretty much middle of Houston. So
was it a rented house or was it your house?
It was an Airbnb.
Oh,
but I'm very blunt with them when I mean, every house that I've used in every one of my films have been Airbnb. I reach out to the owners and tell them what we're doing, and some of them will blatantly say no, absolutely not. And every once in a while you do get the one that would say absolutely yes, that sounds great, just don't break anything and mess anything up, and as long as you leave it the way it was when you got it, we're perfectly fine with it.
I've talked to a few other filmmakers that do the Airbnb. That kind of seems to be the thing to do if you want to get a house.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're using a house for a primary location for your film, and you don't own a house, or your house, doesn't fit what you need for filming, I mean, Airbnb to me is kind of a logical choice, because you can actually go and look at all the different houses and get a feel for what they look like, and before you even contact them, and be like, okay, yeah, this one's perfect. It has the upstairs, it has blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, I send out a nice little message to the owners and be like, hey, this is who I am. Here's my past work. We're filming. Would you be okay with it? And again, some of them will blatantly say absolutely not. But I was lucky to get, 3 of them, Party Night, Mrs. Claus, and Teacher Shortage, to say yes. So
I would think with the amount of wine that was in Teacher Shortage, that you would be a little worried about the carpet getting stained or something like that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of wine flowing, although I think it was just cranberry juice.
Well, that's good to know. I think cranberry juice still stains, though. So
it does, but they had hardwood. They had hardwood floor. So
what about if it's since it's that situation, then somebody like David who gets killed and blood kind of comes up like this? What do you?
We won't talk about that. Oh, we made a mess. We made an absolute mess. And we cleaned it up as best as we could. They never said anything about it. I didn't get a cleaning bill or anything like that. And like Deborah's death scene was also very bloody and got blood all over the walls and everything. So there was about after her death scene, there was a good 2 hours the cast and me spent scrubbing the walls down with bleach.
Is it better then to put a plastic or something like that? So if something does happen, or
it would have been, but we didn't really think about it. Now I know.
Next film, plastic on walls, plastic on floor.
Yes.
I mean, unless you just don't do a lot of blood, I guess.
But that's blood is my thing. All my films are bloody, so I can't skimp on the blood.
You got to have the blood. I saw a zombie film long time ago as part of a package of a bunch of other films. I think it's called Office of the Dead. And it might have been might be an Asian film that was dubbed.
Okay.
But you could obviously tell that they got the film on the weekends, no blood.
There was no blood in the entire movie. So if a zombie was shot, it would just fall.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So obviously the director or producer works at this company. They said you could shoot here, but you can't have blood or anything like that. And it kind of ruined the movie.
Yeah, you don't want to make a horror movie without blood.
No.
That's the thing with me is if I'm going to make a slasher movie, I'm going to show the kills and it's going to be bloody. And that's one thing, whether you love my films, hate my films, you can at least say that I don't have off-screen deaths and the deaths are bloody. So what else can you ask for in a slasher film, right?
Nudity.
Yeah, true. We don't have nudity in teacher shortage. So
how do you feel about that? How
I'm okay with it. I mean, there's a time and place for it. If it fits, if it fits what you're going for, if it fits the particular scene, then I say, yeah, go for it. There was a scene in teacher shortage. We could have had full frontal nudity from one of the actresses. She was more than willing to do it. And in fact, she did it. We filmed it, but we just didn't use it. We cut it out. And so you don't see it just because we felt it was like, I don't know, unnecessary.
But isn't all nudity in slasher films unnecessary?
Well, I mean, I guess if a character like I have nudity in Mrs. Claus. There's a character that's topless. And it's because she just got done having sex, so it just makes sense. I don't know. It was just one of those things where we're like, do we need it? Do we want to see it? Let's just. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not at all. So it's not like I'm one of those people that are, oh, there should not be nudity in horror films, or we shouldn't exploit women that way. I mean, to me, if the actress is willing to do it, there's no exploitation there if she's willing to do it, right? But I felt like with I felt like a nudity and teacher shortage was just not the right choice because, like I keep saying, it is a more mature feeling film. Not saying that having nudity in your film makes it immature, but it just, I don't know, just when we were watching it, and putting it together and watching it, it just was like, we don't really need to show this.
I'm for both now, male and female. I feel that women have been, naked enough. Let's get the guys in there too. Why not?
I think absolutely. I think guys definitely need to start. It's their turn. So.
Yeah, that's. I don't see that there's any problem with that, and it's one of those things where. With like Axmis, one of the actresses is that in the script, it did say that she gets topless, and she talked to me and said, look, I would like to have a real career one day. Yeah. So can we not do this? I'll dress sexy, I'll get the push-up bra going and all that type of stuff. And so the actor who plays her boyfriend I had him get shirtless. So it's like, okay, one for the ladies. Why not? We've done enough for the guys. Let's throw one out there, and he's a good looking guy and he works out. So it's like, why not?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
It worked out just fine.
Yeah. I'm definitely,
yeah. So what about post-production? What was that like?
Post-production, I leave in the hands. Well, I mean, if you're talking about like completing the film, the editing process, that I have an editor for that because I am not comfortable editing a feature film yet. So I have an editor specifically to do that. He did send me, every time he would edit a scene, would send me it and get my opinion if I wanted anything changed. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? So it was a very collaborative process. I just don't do the editing. It took the editing on this film, or the post-production on this film, took a little bit longer than my previous films. Because we were just really careful with putting it together. We had a lot of footage. I think even though, I think this film had more footage shot than my previous two films, if I'm remembering correctly. So there was a lot of footage, a lot of angles, a lot of things we could have done. The gore scenes were a lot more elaborate, and we ended up cutting those down quite a bit. So it just took a lot longer to put this film together. And then you have the scoring, which I love the score to the film. Love it, love it, love it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's very Italian.
Yeah, Guthrie Lowe did the score for it, and it took him, oh, how long did it take him? Maybe about 5 weeks to do the whole thing. So, I mean, we filmed it in March, and the first cut of it was done by the end of December, because I was able to submit it to that's when I started submitting it to festivals, I think, was the end of December. So March, April, May, June, July, August, about 8 months, 9 months.
And how much freedom do you give to actors with dialogue and things like that? Do you like improv, or do you stick to the script?
I don't mind improv if I don't mind improv if it improves the scene. I'm trying to think, did anybody improv anything in Teacher Shortage? I don't think so. The only thing that might have been improv in Teacher Shortage were maybe just a couple of words that the actor thought was clunky in the script, so they just changed them. Like David's scene when he's drunk, Mr. Curtis, and he's drunk and he's given that whole speech about the prom had to be on the football field and stuff. That's in the script, but he did change some of the words because he thought the words in the script were a little clunkier to say. I'm fine with that. Teacher Shortage, though, they pretty much stuck to the script. Mainly because a lot of the dialogue is just this educational jargon that none of them were really familiar with anyway, so they weren't going to kind of mess with it. I know that in Mrs. Claus, there was a whole scene in Mrs. Claus that the actors improvised and really went off the rails from what the original script was, but it worked really well, so I was okay with it. So I'll give them freedom. I mean, if I think it's going to improve the overall scene.
Do you do maybe like one take with the actual dialogue and then second take with them like improvising, or does it matter?
No, we did. That's what we did when they wanted to change the whole dialogue in Mrs. Claus. We ran through it with the dialogue that was in the script, and then they came up with their own little thing that they thought was a little bit more humorous. And they went through it, and I ended up really liking it. And it is one of the scenes that people laugh at and get a kick out of. I remember when it was playing at festivals, and I would go into the festivals and watch it with audiences. It was the scene that got probably the biggest laughs, which I think they were smart, because the film at that point needed some sort of comedic relief, because everything else up to that point had been very serious and sullen and gloomy. And so you get this moment of comic relief between these two characters smoking pot in a garage, and I think it really breaks up the film nicely. Okay.
And what about crew? How much do you give them? Like how much leverage does the editor have? How much leverage does the composer have? How much, how freely do you let these people, do they make the film yours, or do they make it more theirs?
No, I think it's a nice balance. I like I said, my editor, I'd worked with him on all 3 of my films. So by the 3rd film, we had a pretty good rapport with each other, where he kind of knew what I was going for. So he would definitely go that route. And again, was very good about sending me scenes as he was editing them and getting my feedback and stuff. So definitely, I think that, you trust these people to do what you're going to do. And like I said, I saw the scenes. If there's anything I wanted changed, he'd change it. The score, that was interesting, because my only thing that I told the score Guthrie was I wanted to sound like a giallo, and that's all I could tell him. I'm like, listen to some Argento's stuff, and that's kind of what I'm going for. And he came back with just this beautiful, memorable score, and I was like wowed. It fits the film so well. So I was very pleased. But I mean, you kind of work with these people, I think, because you trust them and you trust their judgment, right? So I've been very happy with everything. That's,
Yeah, I'm a little untrusting, so it's tough.
Yeah,
You know,
I see that. I see it. I see both ways. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, I wanted take two, but you use take one,
Yeah.
you know, or yeah, that's not exactly where I thought music should be. And then, but the composer's like, no, but I think it fits perfectly in there. And it's like, well, I don't know. I've been listening to scores my entire life, you know, since Star Wars, basically, you know, when I got my first soundtrack from John Williams, and it's now I have thousands of them, you know. So it's like, I don't know, you know, I may not be a composer, but so I don't know. It's a little tough for me. I guess I'm a little more of a control freak when it comes to these things, that I almost want to be there while they're doing it.
Yeah, I get that. I get that too. Yeah.
Just because I can't see it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times maybe the editor would like scene, you know, would like take two and you like take four.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's a I guess there's some sort of compromise, I guess, in there to where you kind of just have to let stuff go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if it was something like, I don't know, like a Blumhouse film that you got hired to direct, and then you just, when you're done directing, you go.
Yeah.
You know, you leave it all up to them. But when it's your own film and your own money, and, you know, then that's kind of something different.
Yeah. You want it to be your vision, right?
Yeah, perfectly.
And
yeah.
Sometimes it's hard trying to share your vision with somebody, and for them to understand what you're going for. And
right,
you know, we all have different eyes. So yeah, the editor that wasn't there on set with you filming is going to look at it and be like, okay, well, I want to use this take, but doesn't really know. Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
Do you plan on learning editing? Do you think it's important for the director to kind of know? I do. I
do. I mean, I definitely do. I've gotten a little bit. I've played around with it and stuff like that. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely something I do think is important. I probably would start with like a short film, you know, a little short film, and start playing around with editing and stuff like that. So, but also, you know, my editor was also my cinematographer is the editor as well. So when we were shooting the film, because we know he's going to edit it, we had conversations right there on set about what was going to be used and all that stuff. So that made it a lot easier as well.
Yeah, that's something that Medoc 4 had an issue with, is that the editor was up in the air. Yeah. So it was one of those things of, you know, the DP isn't exactly, you know, he's doing the shots I want him to do, but how is it going to work out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So now what about distribution? So you have the stirring version, and then you have the wild eye version. You know, I'm sorry, I'm stirring. I'm going back to stirring.
That's fine.
You have you have teacher. Here we go. Teacher shortage. That's what I'm trying to get out of my brain.
Yeah.
How did this work with distribution? Is this going to be wild eye? Maybe.
No, this is our teacher shortage has a distributor. Bayview Entertainment. The copy, I think the copy you have right there was a crowdfunding copy.
Okay.
Which looks a lot better than what the distributor did.
Oh.
Well, this I don't know. I don't know how much I'm going to get into this, just because I don't want them to watch and be like, "Oh, we hate you." But you know, the distributor, reached out to me, and basically they were talking about how they were partnering with a very prominent horror news site to create a separate, like a horror themed expansion of their catalog. And it sounded really good, and their contract was pretty simple, basic. They were like, "Hey, we're going to get it everywhere that your past distributor got the film. You know, it's going to be a blah blah blah." So I decided, you know what, I'll go with them. Why not? You know, it sounds like, the fact that they're working with this horror site that's pretty prominent, that I know what it is. They're going to promote the film there, and it's going to get a lot of good promotion. It just didn't end up that way. It's sort of disappointing to me, because Teacher Shortage for me is by far my best film, and is a very timely film, but it's probably by far my less seen film, because the distributor really did nothing with it.
Oh, that's too bad.
I mean, to the point where Yeah, their DVD copy, their DVD case for the film looks really amateurish. Looks really bad. If you ordered it off Amazon, it just looks like it's a high school put together thing.
Oh, so it's available now.
Yeah, it's been available. They had it on Amazon to rent, but then another thing is they put it on YouTube for free a year ago, and it was supposed to be as a, what do they call it? Exclusive preview, because they were really promoting this new horror line of films that they were adopting. Because over a course of like 6 months, they picked up several indie horror films, right? They had like 20 of them. So they were doing like exclusive peeks of these different horror films that they picked up. So they put Teacher Shortage on their YouTube channel for free. And it was only supposed to be on their YouTube channel for 5 days. It's a year later. It's still on YouTube for free.
Oh, yeah. I saw that it was on there, but before
Yeah.
I purchased it, that's how I was going to watch it. But then I said, no, I don't want to do that. Troy doesn't get any money for that, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, so that's what I'm saying. I had issues with Wild Eye. I have issues with this distributor in terms of like, I just don't feel like they did a lot to promote the film. But it is what it is. That's, I guess, as an indie filmmaker, you get used to having to promote your own stuff, right?
Yeah. I'm looking on Amazon actually right now. Let's see here. So I want to see what it looks like. I do see one on here that's the same box.
It's the same. The front is the same, but the back is really
bad. Let's see. Let's see if they show the back. Sometimes they do. They don't. They only show the front.
Yeah.
Oh well.
But maybe. It is what I mean. I can't say anything. I'm just, that's just me thinking this film was my best, and I really wanted it to get out there and get seen. And it kind of hasn't. I can say they've paid at least. I have gotten money from them. They do send the quarterly statements and stuff, which is good. I mean, yeah. So not a lot. I haven't got a lot, but it's something. It's more than I got from, some of the other distributors. So, hey.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to mention a couple scenes of the film that I liked. One is the, like and question at the same time. So I guess type of thing is, I thought there's a good shot of Brink outside the school as she's walking to her car, and a school bus just goes right past her.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking, ooh, either that was planned or very good timing, or just happenstance. I mean, that she just happens to be there and this bus goes by.
It was very good timing. It wasn't planned. And when we were out there filming it, we did see the school buses. Like I did see school buses coming, and I'm like, oh my God, we got to hurry because I want that school bus in the background. So we rushed to get that scene, that shot with the school bus going by, because I saw it coming down the road, and we're out there, we're going through, and I'm like, come on. I want the school bus in the background. Let's do this. So it just happened. It was luck, and it's really cool because the whole film's supposed to take place at a high school, and you have the school bus go by in the background, which just perfect timing. For free.
It just adds production value to it. So yeah, so that shot I really liked. And so when Brink is running and she's hiding, she runs into the men's restroom, not the women's restroom. Was there any reason for?
I think that's because we were rushing. That was our third night there, and we had to be out of we had to be out of the school by 10, and by that time it was like 9:30. So that scene didn't get to be expanded on like I wanted it to in the script. She runs into the men's bathroom to throw off the killer, right? Because the killer is going to assume that she's going to go in the women's bathroom to hide. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's smart.
Yeah.
See, I would just run right into the men's room and hid in a stall or something, or I would have been. I would have been dead, but I guess she dies too. So
she dies too. Yeah. In the script, there's a whole moment where she stops in front of the two doors and like looks at them and considers which one to go into, and then she hears the killer behind her coming. So she makes a decision to go into the men's room. We didn't have a lot of time with that, so you know how that goes when you're working on.
Oh yeah. And then there's a BJ in a car
Yes.
How was that for the actors? Comfortable, not comfortable, close set, open set?
It was me, the two actors, and the DP. That was it. We were out in the driveway. It was like 2 a.m. Those two, Kaylee and Michael, had really bonded, I think, and had a good rapport. So they were fine with it. It was, I don't think it was uncomfortable at all for either of them. It was just kind of go with the flow. They knew it was in the script, and in fact, for those two particular characters, that's the scene that I sent them to audition. Yes, no, I mean, not together, but like I sent them that scene. That was any of the actors that auditioned for those two roles. That is the scene I sent, so that they saw that it was right. It was in the script, so they knew.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You're not hiding anything.
No.
It's not like I did a gotcha on you.
I mean, I don't know how many auditions I had to watch of men pretending to get blowjobs, though. So that was quite interesting.
Probably all of them seem like they never got one from the way that their facial expressions
right.
Constantly doing an O face that just looks really awkward.
Yeah.
And then let's see here. So we talked about the bar. We talked about that. I like the cleaver to the face. I'm not going to say who gets it.
Yeah,
that was good. And so speaking of the cleaver in the face, how did you decide on what murders happened? Like who got what? How did you decide that?
God, there was really no rhyme or reason to it. It was just, okay, I'm going to kill these people off. So what's a really creative death? What can I do next? There was really no particular reasoning why characters died the way they did. It was just all, let's kill these characters off brutally. So it wasn't like it had anything to do with something that they had done or said in the past. It was just writing graphic death scenes. And
was there anything that your effects artist thought like, oh, this is going to be too hard, or oh great, this is awesome?
She was great. She liked all of the death scenes, and in fact I met with her several times. She actually did a lot of like pre stuff before filming. She made she sculpted an entire fake head of Samantha's character so that we could jab that pencil through its eyeball. She made molds of chests and torsos, and she had a blast. It was a lot of blood, a lot of prosthetic, makeup effects, a lot of, fake prosthetic weapons. She did a great, I mean, she was basically a one-woman show. She did it all herself.
Have you worked with her before, or is this
that was my first time working with her. I worked with the same makeup artist for Party Night and Mrs. Claus, but she ended up moving to LA, so I wasn't able to work with her again. So I just found another very reputable makeup artist in the Houston area who had worked on some pretty films that I had known, and she was the makeup effects artist for them, like Sweatshop, which is a very gory film. So I'm like, oh my god, yeah.
I own Sweatshop. Yeah,
she did makeup effects with Marcus Koch on that film. So she's worked with him before. So I definitely lucked out with her. Like, again, she was a one-woman show, did it all herself. Everything turned out really well.
When you work with somebody for like a second or third time, and it could be cast, crew, effects artist, whatever it is, once they're in there, so like you have an actor, they auditioned, they got the role, do you then up it a little bit? Like, okay, in the last film you did this film we're going to ×2 it. Like I'm going to give you something better. I'm going to give you something more than in the previous film.
Yeah, I think so. I think, I want them to come back, and I want them to actually improve. And like I said, that's what kind of one of my things is. I'm not going to work with an actor that I worked with previously and then put them in my another film and have them do the exact same thing. I always like to mix it up. If you look at the actors I've worked with, and you look at their roles in my films, you will see that they're completely different, characters. They're never like the same. They're playing the complete opposite of what they played in the previous film. I mean, that's true for like Brink in Teacher Shortage and Mrs. Claus. It's true for Kaylee in Mrs. Claus and Teacher Shortage. So yeah, you want to challenge them, right? You don't want them to get too comfortable. So.
And how does it work with people coming to location that are out of the area?
I just fly them in. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard, that's part of their deal is I get their airfare and everything and put them up in the lodging. And like I said, most of the time they just stay together in the house. I like that. I like that the cast, I like when my cast stays together because they bond. And I feel like their bonding translates on screen. So they actually have better chemistry together than if you're sequestering them and they're staying in different hotel rooms and they're never interacting with each other. When you're forced to stay in a house with people, it's inevitable that you're gonna bond with them. So, and you're gonna get to know them. So your performance with them and your comfort level with them is definitely going to show on film.
Is it important? I'm not going to say who the killer is. So, but is it important for the actor that plays the killer to bond with them at the same time? Or is it better to keep them separate?
Well, that was something I totally left up to the actor and the cast, and the actor was completely comfortable bonding with them. In fact, they well, they definitely was in the mix with all the cast, like constantly they were, going out to dinner, having dinners, drinks, all the shenanigans. He was definitely in the mix. Because I feel like he is a professional and he can turn it on and when necessary, as evidenced by his kind of final huge monologue at the end of the film. And him and the other character that ends up being the final character, actually, they were like kind of thrust together right away. Our first day of filming, when they both came to Houston to film, our very first scene we filmed. The very first scene we filmed outside of the opening scene, the very first scenes we filmed were the bar scenes. The bar scenes were filmed before anything else. So the ending of the film was filmed first. So
interesting.
It was just him. It was just those two actors and then Julie as the bartender and Michael Tula. They were there before everybody else. So they were forced to like stay in a hotel room together and forced to bond. And then we were filming overnight. So they got there and it was like, we're going to go right at it. So those two hit it off right away. They had no choice. So yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah. The ending of the film was filmed first.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so since now you have 3 films, Teacher Shortage is brand new. What has this done for your career? Have really positive things happen? He moves around awkwardly. Well,
I'm moving around. Well, I want to say, I will say that I think it has given people that have followed my films the clear idea that I definitely strive to improve with each film. I would say 99% of the people that I've talked to or that give me feedback have said that Teacher Shortage is by far your best film. There's a few that have like, it was okay. Mrs. Claus is still my favorite. And in fact, you want to talk about a slap in the face. I was just talking about this on a podcast last night because I have a podcast actually with Roger. I co-host with Roger where we discuss a different horror movie every week. And there's a website. I'm not going to say what it is. If you want to know what it is, listen to our next podcast episode because I mentioned it. But there was a website that the writer gave glowing reviews to both Party Night and Mrs. Claus. So of course, when Teacher Shortage was done and I was trying to get some pre-review press to be able to have reviews to put together a press kit when I send it out to distributors or festivals, I sent it to him. And I just assumed that it was going to be a good review. Well, he got back to me. He's like, Troy, just so you know, I cannot do a review for Teacher Shortage because I did not like it. And so I like you a lot and I support you. So I'm just not going to do a review. He's like, I can't even I didn't even like it enough to be able to like bullshit a good review for it.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh my God, like what a slap in the face. It just kind of hit me, but I was like, okay, because the same person like gave this glowing review to Party Night. And I'm like, okay, you look at Party Night and Teacher Shortage, and clearly Teacher Shortage is the better film. But I guess there's just something about it that struck a nerve with them, and he didn't like. Maybe it was the giallo influence. I have heard that people weren't a fan of the lighting change and stuff. They found it just, I guess, forced, which I can see. But you're never going to please everybody. But for the most part, people have said it's my best film. So I will say that I guess it has kind of allowed me to maybe be taken a little bit more seriously as an indie filmmaker, to see that I do improve, to see that my work does improve, that I'm not churning out the same stuff over and over and over again, because definitely I am the type of person that I am much more concerned with quality than quantity. So where I made 3 films in the course of 3 years. Okay. So I did Party Night, Mrs. Claus, and Teacher Shortage were filmed pretty much within 3 years of each other. It's been, I haven't made a film since 2019. So I'm definitely not just rushing out making films just because. I want to make sure that what I do is going to be quality. And, so as far as what it's done for my career, hopefully it shows people that I am improving, that I care about the craft and improving the craft. I mean, it played in some cool festivals. I won a couple of awards, which is always cool. And it allowed me to work with a bunch of great people that I still am in contact with, quite a bit.
Okay. All right. That sounds very honest. So that's, that's interesting. So, so what was something that was good that happened on the set, and what was something bad that happened on the set?
Oh, something good that happened on the set was just the fact that we all got along so well. I know that might sound like a cliche answer, but I mean, this cast, we had a blast together. When we weren't filming, we were having a blast. We joking around. There were nights of drinking, nights of all kinds of fun stuff, going to dinners and just bonding and having a wonderful time, and really honestly making what I want to consider lifelong friendships, and people that I definitely want to work with again. In fact, a couple of the characters in Mrs. Claus were specifically written for people that I worked with on, or Mrs. Claus 2, people I worked with on Teacher Shortage. So, I mean, I think when you have that positive energy and you actually bond and get along, the whole group gets along. And I still have some of the actors tell me it's the best set experience they ever had.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's great to hear. I mean, that's good. I'm very happy with the final product. I'm very happy with Teacher Shortage. I don't think we could have done with what we had, the time we had. I don't think we could have done anything better. I'm happy with it. So that's a good thing. Something that's bad, I don't know. Timing. There were a couple of times when we were really cutting it close, especially at the school. And where I hate being under pressure like that. I get really bitchy. And so I probably snapped at my crew and cast a few times during that filming at that school, because we were just running out of time. And then I get really anxious and I get like, come on, we don't have time for this. We got to get going. Come on. And I get really, it's like cracking the whip, and I don't like to do that. So I do regret that, I do feel like one of the scenes in Teacher Shortage, where I should say one of the scenes in Teacher Shortage, I think was rushed a little bit quicker than I would have liked, but I still am happy with how it turned out. And that was at the school. It's because they were literally outside the door telling us we had to leave in the middle of filming. So,
right.
So you got to blame Houston traffic on that, because that was the day that we were driving, because the school was about 45 minutes from the house, and Houston is a huge city, 4th largest city in the country. Traffic is horrendous. So there was a point where we only had the school from 3 to 10. And because of traffic, we didn't even get to the school the last night until like 5. So we lost 2 hours, well, more than 2 hours, because then you have to unload all the equipment. So we lost about 3 hours. And so everything had to be rushed that day. So
yeah. And where can your films, where can all of these be purchased? Where can people get these like I have them?
Yes, you want them. Well, you can get them off of Amazon. All of them can be ordered on Amazon. Yeah, if you want the teacher shortage DVD, it's on Amazon. It's through the distributor. Or contact me, because I still have original crowdfunding copies of it left. I have several of the DVDs of Teacher Shortage left, and Mrs. Claus Stirring. So if you want that, contact me. I have a store set up for Fright Meter films that you can order them off of. They're also, I think, last time I checked, Party Night and Mrs. Claus are on Tubi for free. So if you want to watch them, they're on Tubi. I mean, I don't care. I mean, you could watch them for free. They're up there. I'd rather people watch my stuff than not. So it's up there. Teacher Shortage is on Amazon. It's also on YouTube for free. And yeah. So yeah, I think that runs the gamut of it. Yeah. Tubi, Amazon. Yeah.
Well, I think it's good. I mean, Axmus 1 and 2 are on Tubi, and I used to have an issue with that because it was, well, wait, I'm not making money from this. I'm not. You're supposed to. I've talked to other filmmakers who make money off of Tubi. I haven't seen a dime, but I guess it's better to have. But now I'm all about people just watching it. If you want a physical, just contact me and I'll see what I can get you one. But if you just want to watch it, Tubi's probably the best place to do it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the point where I'm at. I realize, and I never made these films to make money. I mean, I'm not making money off these films. Trust me. So it's to the point. It comes to a point where you got to do it because you're passionate about it. You have a story to tell that you're passionate about, and you want to tell it. And I realize even if I do Mrs. Claus 2, even if I do my other film, Hollow Lake, that I wrote the script to, that I know I'm never going to make back what I spent on these films. It's just not going to happen. So you got to accept that as an indie filmmaker making little $10,000 films, unless you get picked up by a major distribution company. You got to do it for the passion. And then you just got to be resound to the fact that it's better for people to see your stuff, because then they'll like it. They might not like it, but at least it's being seen. That's what you make the films for people to watch them. So,
right. Yeah. And for myself, I have on my YouTube channel I've started to put all my short stuff on there, and there's like 3 or 4 different versions of each short.
Okay.
So it's like, they're on there for you to watch, and then the cast and crew can download it if they want to copy, that type of thing too. So, but all right. So we are at the end. Oh, wow. So is there anything that you would like to plug? It can be the past, present, future. What would you like to tell people?
Yeah, I'd like to plug a few things. First of all, we just told you where you could get my 3 films. I am very much working on Mrs. Claus 2. It's been a long time coming. It just made sense that this film would have a sequel, because the ending of Mrs. Claus is very ambiguous and just begs for a sequel. It just took me a long time. I thought I knew the direction I wanted to take, and it just wasn't working out the way I wanted to with the script. So I was like 30 pages into the script and scrapped it and started over. I'm much happier with this new script. I'm almost done with it, with the final draft and the final revisions, and I'm super happy with it. If you want to stay up to date with that, with casting and everything, there is just search for Mrs. Claus 2. There's a Facebook group that I've started to be able to promote it and to post casting stuff when the time comes and stuff like that. So that's out there. Please stay tuned. There's a cool poster I had designed. What's really cool about Mrs. Claus 2 is that it is combining. I've always wanted to do a Christmas slasher, and I've kind of always wanted to do a Halloween themed slasher, but Halloween themed slashers are done to death. So what I did with Mrs. Claus 2 is bring Mrs. Claus 2 back, but instead of it taking place on Christmas, it takes place on Halloween. So now Mrs. Claus is
Oh.
kind of blended with Halloween. So I got
I saw that poster.
Yeah, the poster art is really cool. It's done by Casey Booth. It's a very like 80s kind of throwback, Goosebumps looking poster that definitely shows you that it is combining the two holidays, Halloween and Christmas. So check that out. I'll be casting and announcing stuff regarding that film. So I'm excited about that. And then the only other thing I'd like to plug is I've mentioned it, my podcast with Roger Connors, Dark Night of the Podcast. We release episodes weekly, and we just shoot the shit about a different horror movie each week and have a blast doing it. So
you got to have a blast doing it. Otherwise, don't do it.
Exactly.
So, all right, cool. Well, great. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And
thank you.
Thank you for moving schedules around and stuff like that. So it's, I've wanted to talk to you for a while, so I'm very happy that we're able to do this. So
I'm definitely glad. Because I saw that. When I saw that you started this, I was like, I have to get on there one day. I definitely have to. So I'm excited.
I sent out so many invites, and I think like 2 people just said, everybody else said yes.
Yeah.
So I'm still backlogged.
Yeah, I bet. Well, indie filmmakers love to get on and talk about their films. So you're going to get, pretty much, I can't imagine people that wouldn't want to get on and and use a platform to promote their work. But
yeah, it's weird. It's only been 2, but which is fine you're episode 40.
Yeah.
So,
wow,
you get that nice round number of 40. And only 10 away from 50. So that's so far so good with everything. So
that's awesome. Keep it up. Yeah,
thanks.
there's definitely going to be a market for it. I'm sure.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And then when Mrs. Claus 2 comes out, then all of you back on, so we can discuss that.
Yes, it's going to be a fun one. I'm super excited. When you're writing a script and you're just really happy with it, it just gives you kind of this really good feeling. And I really feel good about this script. I think if people were a fan of the first one, I think they're really going to like this one. It ties everything together very well, but still tells its kind of own story. So
that's good. That's great. I love that it's Halloween. So
yeah. It'll be a Halloween party, a frat house Halloween party. Mrs. Claus shows up.
I love when people do that. I love when you take something like we've heard those rumors of Jason being put into snow.
Yes.
To me, I love that idea. Let's get Camp Crystal Lake and snow and the lake's all frozen. Let's see what Jason can do in the winter. I love that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about Mrs. Claus too.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Hopefully it gets done.
It will.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. So it's getting late, and I'm going to sign off here. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Oh, remember, go to Shield Storage and rent out a storage unit. Bye.
Yes.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out after the video. And thank you for watching the very first Dark Park Films sponsored video. And who is that sponsor? Well, I've now learned if I do this with my hands, they go to the right area. There we go. That would be Wildlife Command Center Coffee. And you can purchase it right there. You can go to their website, which is BUYWCC.com, and pick up their coffee. They have 2 blends, which I'm going to show you now. The first coffee is this one right here. This is a breakfast blend. It's 10 ounces, and it is a medium ground. And it does say, and it's breakfast, like I said, and this is what it says right here. It says, early bird can catch the worm. So there you go. A breakfast blend coffee that helps you catch the worm in the morning. And I really like this one. I'm more of a breakfast kind of blend coffee guy in the morning. So this one I really like. It has that little bit of oomph to it to kind of get you moving, get you up and out. And so I really enjoy this one, but that doesn't mean that I don't like the other one, which is this one right here. This is a dark roast. It is also 10 ounces. And both of these are $7.99 at their website. Pretty good price for 10 ounces worth of ground coffee. This one is, it's a little darker. So it's, I think it's better for drinking at night. Maybe if you're, writing a screenplay or if you're filming, this has got that oomph, that double punch to get you going. So this is one that I also recommend. I like both of these quite a bit, but I kind of do, the breakfast in the morning and then the dark more at night. So I recommend both of these quite a bit. And how did I find out about these two, these two coffees here? And how did I find out about Wildlife Command Center? Well, when I was working on Night of the Zomghouls, there was a box of coffee that was just sitting there filled with coffee. And we didn't know what to do with it. Like, whose is this? Who brought it? Why is it here? And so we just kept going to the store and buying coffee. And then one day I said, why don't we just get the coffee out of the box and use that instead of, wasting money on going to Smith's or whatever and picking up coffee. So we did. We did not realize that it was the Wildlife Command Center coffee and that it, was sponsoring the movie. And it was great coffee. Everybody loved it. And we just went right through it. By the last day of filming, this coffee was gone. And I went and found out, about Wildlife Command Center, asked if they would like to be a sponsor for Dark Park Films, for their coffee. As many of you know, I love coffee. I love coffee mugs. And so this was a perfect match. And Wildlife Command Center is great with animals. So they provide a great service for rescuing animals. So it's kind of that double whammy for me, where coffee, helping animals, you can't go wrong. And they were even cool enough to send me, get in there, a coffee mug, because they knew that I liked coffee mugs. And right now, I don't get that. That a little bit. I'm going to go on the keyboard, but that's their dark blend, because I'm recording this at night. So I am actually drinking that while recording. Also, one thing that you can get at their website, which is cool, is you can get this. There you go. This pocket knife, which is $9.49. And this is pretty cool because it has their name on it. Wildlife Command Center, we can catch it. And this is what it looks like. Put that down there. There we go. Fully out. So you're getting like the bottle opener, you got the corkscrew, you got a screwdriver, you got a blade, and then you got this little hook thing that you could pop it into something that doesn't have a tab, and then the liquid or whatever in there will come out. So this is pretty cool. And I'm just going to keep mine in my car, because you never know. You might need a pocket knife. So please support them. I'm going to have links down below, where you can, check out just the Wildlife Command Center. I'll also have a link for Wildlife Command Center coffee, and it will basically be for both these guys right here. And please support them. I support them. I think what they do is pretty awesome. And maybe this coffee will be on your set or in your kitchen. It will definitely be, on my set in my kitchen. I know that. So please, once again, I'm going to show you these. Please go to their website and pick up their coffee and make it part of your day or night, depending on which one you like. So that'll be about it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, so thank you. And once again, please support my channel. Please support the Wildlife Command Center, and I will catch you later. Bye.